Hello, and welcome back to some more Hollow Knight. As we finally reach the end, and we're ready to begin. So there's a good bit of Godholm to do. Hopefully I can get through this as quickly as possible. But this one's probably going to be longer than most of the stuff, just because. So you can actually get into Godholm pretty early and open up several of the Pantheons. However, because they have a good bit more health than what they do elsewhere, you probably don't want to come here until endgame. It is possible to do the first 3 Pantheons without having things like... let's see. Without having the Shade Cloak. Oh. I'm not very good at speedy kills, so this might take a while. There we go. If you get under him, you can actually Abyss Shriek, which would have probably been a wiser idea. In Pantheon 1, though, it matters a lot less. And I'll probably be fooling around, taking a lot more damage because of not paying attention or getting cocky. Now, Quick Slash would have probably been a better idea. And of course, if you constantly stagger him, you can actually chain stagger. Which would have been a great idea if I hadn't done all the heals. Of course, you can keep Dream Nailing him once you've beaten him, for as much soul as you like. Helps. Does even better if you have Dream Welder. But whatever. That is the hardest boss of Godmaster, other than Grismother. So every time she comes out of a stagger, she's gonna jump. So you can use that as a means to actually... hit her like that. There's not gonna be too much to actually mention at all this. And of course, if you're having trouble with Pantheons, you can always try and do... It's really more for the last Pantheon, but you can always try to do these with bind-ins, one at a time, as if you have it to where... As if you do them one at a time so that you get at least 8 bind-ins, then you can open up Lifeblood to get, I think, 3 masks. Always make sure you save enough soul so you can descend in dark and get Dung Defender out of his burrow, because you're gonna waste a lot of time waiting for him to finish. Which is also one of the more annoying things with bind-ins. But yeah, Quick Slash will make this go even faster. But I'm much more used to Mark of Pride. And of course, Shade Souls works really good on Soul Warrior, because it often double hits him. Now if I care... No, Tisa only shows up in Pantheon 5. Oop. So, same rules. Just descend in dark whenever he does his spit. And if he does his leap, you have enough time to hit him as he does 2 jumps before he actually finishes. So we start Oro and Mato. Plenty of ways that you can take these guys out. If you really want to, you can always do Abyss Shriek when they finish. It doesn't work as well in Phase 2, because if you go to the opposite side of them, you're going to have the problem that they're both activate. But Shade Soul works really well while you have both of them. But don't dash into them. And if you get them as they go back, then you can have it to where you can get double hits, triple hits. And then it's back to Phase 1 kind of stuff. And then just bow respectfully for the good sparring match. So yeah, Pantheon 1's a pretty good warm-up first. Mostly because the only thing that's really actually that challenging is Oro and Mato, if you're just not familiar with them. Because that's the only thing new. And don't forget there's the Hall of Gods beneath here, so that if you struggle with any of the bosses, particularly the new ones, go in and go up to their statue so you can practice. And that works really well. Like, the first time I played and did the Pantheons, I got destroyed by Sly and Pure Vessels, so until I could beat him on Radiant, I didn't feel confident doing the Pantheons. I forget if I did Radiant, Absolute Radiance before Pantheon 5. So yeah, Shade Soul works really good, or Abyss Shriek. Either one. It's just Shaman Stone that really helps clear the Pantheons. And if you're really close to this guy, you can just Abyss Shriek instead. It's either one. I think that's the last we'll see of him. So you can immediately Abyss Shriek twice and get him right then and there. Sadly, Soul Master is not very difficult. Unfortunately, Soul Tyrant doesn't have that same thing that you can exploit. He's invulnerable the first time, but you can still get him. Like, I've never actually tried to practice doing that fast, like the speedrunners do. I really need to. It's on my to-do list where I'll learn how to actually do the proper things to speedily kill Soul Master and Tyrant. So Oblables are ones where Shade Soul, your best friend. You see, you can just keep pushing, keep them on one side, double hit, and all that. Because seriously, that's... even on bindings, all you need to do is just kind of like that, but then use dash slash and so forth. Oh, I should probably pay attention. As well, you can also Abyss Shriek right then and there when they're on the wall. As such. The Abyss Shriek works great there. But the faster ones, I think you can only get one. Might be wrong. And now back to phase 1. Good times. There are a variety of different ways you can take them down fast. Alright, Marmu. It helps to do a small jump, because you don't get the bounce physics messing up on the ground as much if you do it that way. Because if you just stay on the ground, there's a chance that if it bounces her down, that you're just going to have issues. Oh, crap. So that actually, as someone pointed out, hits if you... if you hit them up in the air while they're in the ceiling. And poor Fluke Marm. You have so many ways to kill it instantly. I think Broken Vessel's one that I get tripped up by its slower speed. Because I'm so used to the faster speed of Lost Kin. Sadly, every time he does his little headbang thing, he's so vulnerable to Descending Dark. So with Sheo, this is one that, it's such a fun fight, even though it's so easy. So, every time he goes back, if you time it just right, you can just keep double hitting. Plus, nail arts hurt him so bad, and you have enough time to charge it, even with without Nailmaster's glory. And nail arts, particularly as a counter to each move, works so great for all bindings. I'm pretty sure there's faster ways to do it in all bindings, but I still like doing it that way. I'm trying to hopefully keep this under an hour, but I think it's probably going to go over an hour, because I know I'm slow on Pantheon 5. It's like the leisurely scenic route stroll of Pantheon 5. So you just like pogo each time. And then try to not get hit by the spines. He's always going to dash the moment that he finishes that, if you don't stagger him first. Don't recommend Abyss Shrieking, because Abyss Shriek tends to move him around to where he's just going to move right into you. And sadly, Elder Hu is one of those more annoying fights. But with Shade Dash, you can just Shade Dash through all of it, to where it's very rare you're going to get hit, unless you're just getting lazy. A collector. Fortunately, he's not bad in phase Pantheon 3, because you got the weaker enemies. There we go. So, what you can also do, if you are getting overwhelmed, always keep a Shade Soul with Shaman Stone, because it's going to wipe out the entire map of enemies. Oh. You can always just keep Pogoing or Descending Dark on it. I mean, you just ignore God Tamer the entire time. Shade Soul works pretty good as well. Wow. Grim, do you have any other moves? And if you want to speed up the fight, you can always just spam Abyss Shriek when he does that, which means I'm going to get it again. Oh, I actually hit? I don't normally do that, right? There we go. That's a good way to skip Grim. Of course, if you have the Lifeblood from opening the Lifeblood stuff, you don't want to rest on the bench because that removes your Lifeblood, so always just use the Hot Springs. Galleon is super vulnerable to Abyss Shriek. Very, very super vulnerable. You have the time enough to do one Dream Nail. I'm not sure with Dream Wielder if you have enough time for two. Oh. I was a bit mistaken on that. For some reason I thought that I could do a one hit without actually causing them to explode. So it's one of those live and learn kind of moments. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Probably should heal a bit. Great Prince Zode's one of those more annoying fights. Sometimes you do well, sometimes you just... he can get you very easily. So the one thing about Umu is you can always get that Dream Nail the instant he does that. It goes up, if you time it right, and then another as he slowly moves towards you. So the big thing about it is, those beams are never going to hit up in the corners. And if it tracks, you can just loop. Oop. You can just slide down the wall. Well, that wasn't done right. But yeah, if you're ever worried about his little preset ones, you can just do that. And then just slide down the wall, because there's... by the time you hit the ground, you're not going to have any kind of problems. So always try to make it sure you can either hit it in, or use your Shade Soul so that you can knock it in, because Shade Soul will work if it's inside Umu. Oh yeah, she can do the same thing with spells. You can't parry magic. It's against the rules. So yeah, don't get lazy. So Sly has similar kind of things where don't get lazy because he can get you very quickly. Oh, goodness. So it's always just let him make an attack. And when he does his double swing, you just go over him. Loop around. But you have to be close to him. Always watch out for that. Because whenever he's doing the sparks, especially if he's running towards you, that's a great slash, and that's going to be bad. Whereas the others, you can always predict, because he's going to always have his presets of either, see, like that, jump away, or jump in the air. And of course, you can use plenty of spells to make it work. So with that, stay somewhat... not quite in the center, but not at the walls, because if you stay at the walls, you're going to get cornered by Sly. Of course, you can easily use Shade Soul, you can counter... you can counter with Nail Arts. All of them work pretty well. Like, Dash Slash and Great Slash work really good. Things like Mark of Pride help for being able to do normal nail hits, but they're not needed. You can hit him just fine without Mark of Pride, it's just you gotta be quicker after he finishes his spin. And now it's the revenge of the Crystal Guardian. And this is where bosses start to get a little more annoying. So same thing with Crystal Hunter. He usually, I think almost every time, will open with a laser. And if you're not sure you can dodge his lasers, just descend in dark. Easiest way to survive. So if you're lucky, you can get Lost Kin in a nice little staggers with multi-hidden with Shade Soul. But always watch out for his empty hops, because those get you pretty bad. And be ready to either pogo when he dashes, Because when he does his air dash, you can hit him as he goes over. And also as he ends it. I think it's probably better to hit No Eyes with nail arts because of the chance that they just move every teleport. Which also makes things like Abyss Shriek less valuable. However, if they don't teleport, you can often get double hits with Shade Soul. But it's pretty rare that you're going to get the full Abyss Shriek on No Eyes. So you want to try and get that Abyss Shriek when Traitor Lord drops. And you can do plenty of different attacks. Like, I mean, when he stops, you can still do the Abyss Shrieks. Poor Cloth. The legend of Cloth the Mighty lives on. Same thing here. Abyss Shriek when White Defender comes out. And if he does 3 balls, he's going to jump in the air. 2, he's going to either dive or swim. And then he's going to erupt 6 times. The problem is you don't get your full Abyss Shriek on him, so it's not ideal, except for the last one. I think Watcher Knights are next. I forget quite the order for Pantheon 4. No, it's Failed Champion. He has such a late spot in Pantheon 5. So you can always get a good Dream Nail on him. To get a little bit of extra soul. If you take too long, he'll get back up. So you don't want to take all day. Ah. Well. So like with False Knight, you can just Dream Nail, get full soul. You have plenty of time to heal, especially if you're not too hurt. But you can have full soul going into the next one, which is Markov. Don't do it like that, though, for a start. Yeah, that's some pretty bad Markoth starting. So. Oh, well. Jeez. Wow. Usually I don't do this bad with Markov. So yeah, you can get... Once he stops to do a shield spin in phase 2, that's when you just want to Shade Soul him to death. You don't want to touch the javelins that many times. I'm hoping that I can kill him quickly enough so I can actually get some heals off to make up for that poor Markov. So much like with Oroamato, Shade Soul can work really good. Oh, jeez. I forget that if they're too close to the wall, they'll go back. And when they do the big... Oh, I thought I had enough room. You have ample time to do an Abyss Shriek if you want the full damage. Or at least the maximum amount of damage you can get. And if you have Dreamwheeler, you can actually Dreamwheel every time they do that bounce, if you time it right at the end. Alas, no soul. And right at Soul Tyrant. So Shade Soul works really good when he does his little thing, and you can also heal up at that point. You can easily get like 2 or 3 masks, but you usually double hit with Shade Soul as well. Yeah, one time in the future I'm going to figure out how to do this right. Because he's so likes to teleport spam, you can't really commit too much to like Abyss Shrieks. Oh jeez. So yeah, from my understanding, you can jump up, hit him, then dash away, and turn around and smack him for 2 hits when he's in that second phase. I just can't do it right. Ah, and he has that magnificent cape. Can't stare at anything but that. Fortunately, he's broken it, because if he didn't, he would be invincible. Make Pure Vessel caped again. So your big thing... Like, you can jump on him and then descend in dark. You can also... Well, that was a bit weird. If you have it timed just right as he staggers, you'll get some pretty awesome stuff like that. Ah, I'm so used to doing the pogo with that. I wanted to show how you can do spells. And that's a great time to do Shade Souls when... Like, you have enough time to hit him and do an Abyss Shriek. But the timing for it, you have to get used to it. If you also do things like Steady Body, or if you just upswing, you can actually do plenty of much more damage, especially paired with Quick Slash. And in fact, that's a lot better way to do it. But because the space is a bit narrow, it's more generous than it seems. But it takes some getting used to actually just being able to position there and do as much damage as possible. I think that's faster than I've done in the past. I am pretty slow when it comes to clearing these Pantheons. Oh, that's right. I'm not even remembering. So you just make your way up. If you want another bench, for whatever reason, right down there. Plus, that opens up that way, so now you can get back up here without having to make that ever so interesting jump. So the main thing about it is, Pantheon 4 requires a Shade Cloak because you need to be able to kill Markoth with that. Pantheon 5 requires the Void Heart to access. So, unfortunately, it means that you will never be able to bring the King's Soul for Absolute Radiance, Sisters of Battle, or Winged Nosk. Jeez. Vengefly Kings are one of those fights that I just mess up constantly. Like, there's a lot of it that you can just... If you're trying to beat him fast, that you can just... screw up pretty easily. Oh. Knocks right into me, and at the same time I beat it. Crew's Mother's kind of the same. But the Pantheon 1, try not to get in that thing where, because they're easy, you just are reckless. Except False Knight. You can always do that with the False Knight. And with Massive Moss Charger next, it's not really that anything to worry about. Hardest boss. Oh. Jeez. So yeah, nothing particularly fancy about Hornet. And to ascend with Gorb, you just want to either take it slow, do things like Nail Arts, or Shade Soul. Gorb, I trusted you, and then you just do that sort of stuff. So make sure you save your soul so that you can actually get Dung Defender out, because otherwise you're gonna have to go through his opening. And that would be a tragedy. Sadly, it doesn't work on White Defender. The White Defender has the entire thing where you can juggle him constantly. Meant to press down. Yeah, and this is the part where if you had Tiso, you'd have that dramatic moment. So always watch where Rudy and Malik is going, because say if they're going towards the left and they do the jump, then they're going to continue going left. But if they were going back towards the right, you're going to have them go right as soon as they finish their jump. Oh, jeez. You have plenty of time to dream nail him. 2 if you don't have Dream Wielder. Now, one rule of thumb is if you're trying to, when they do their little double slash, you can actually go in and start your dash as soon as they finish their second swing, as your invincibility frames will last through that second slash. So Zera's also a bit spicier. Oh, jeez. I don't usually Shade Soul him very much. I tend to do Ibishri more, which doesn't always connect fully. Oh, goodness. Okay, I was trying not to do Ibishri so I can make up for all my poor play. And of course, I love the little thing how God Seeker looks, constantly follows where they are. Yeah, one day I'll learn it, but today is not that day. So ideally, keep them on one side. Which is, again, why Shade Soul is so good to have. And Dash Slash still works really good there. Like, you can usually do the dash slash and then get another hit. And now for one of the most fun fights in the game. The only flaw of this is that they don't share health. So as soon as you've got one beaten, it's going to be a lot less enjoyable. And of course you have plenty of ways that you can do things. Shade Soul is a little bit less effective compared to Abyss Shriek, and Descend in Dark is also really good. Now because you have a bench immediately after this, you can play pretty reckless. Because that's the other thing. Unlike the first 4 Pantheons where it's only 10 fights, and you have the halfway point, since you've got one like every 5 fights, you can play kind of reckless if you know there's a bench coming up. Since next one's Marmu, with their small little place. Oh jeez. Marmu's one of those that I still mess up a lot. Ouch. Yeah, even with the poor start on that, Fluke Marm just doesn't really have much to offer. Actually was hoping to not stagger. Because if you stagger him, then he won't do his headbang and leave himself vulnerable to Descend in Dark. So the big thing is that Galleon is now your pre-Sheo fight. Which, depending on stuff, might be good, might be bad. It's not exactly one to really be too worried about. Although if you're doing like all bind-ins, your thing is to try and make sure he doesn't sap too much of your life, because you can't just Abyss Shriek spam. And you can Whirlwind Slash every time he does the red. Let's just make sure that every time he finishes an attack, you move close to him, because you don't want Sheo to corner you. But you don't want to get too close to him so that he jumps over you. I mean, you can do it if you're trying to beat him faster, but I find that it's usually going to throw off the flow of the fight if you do it that way. And this is where things start to get real, especially if you're doing all binds. Because for me, at any rate, Collector was the big wall to do with all bindings. It's usually that he's going to pay a you're going to pay a lifeblood tax. Oh, jeez. Don't even pay attention to little bees. Oh, that's handy. So as long as you have, like, strength on, you can one-shot the ads. So you don't want primal aspids to be bothering you. But unfortunately, if you're doing like all bind-ins, your Shade Soul will still one-shot the ads, you just don't have enough soul to keep that up. So you need to save it for which waves give you the most trouble. As well, the big thing about God Tamer is that they have the same time for their actual attacks, so if you... once you get a feel for the fight, you'll know when she's about to jump. You can use that to either dash through her, or parry, or pogo, whichever you prefer. Mistook that for a different attack. Ideally, you do one Abyss Shriek and then back off. Because it's pretty rare you're going to get all the Abyss Shrieks. And that was a bit risky. Like, I was fortunate that he didn't have the fireballs go on the ground. Otherwise, that would have hit me. As such. Alright, let's see if I get lucky. Oh, wow! Either I'm getting better at this timing, or it's a lot more generous than I thought it was. So after Grim, you get another bench, so that's your bit of a breather. Because that's the thing, if you're doing all bind-ins and you get past Collector, God Tamer and Grim are unlikely to end your run unless you're like at 1 health. So you get 2 relatively easier bosses, and then you can recover before you do Watcher Knights. And to be honest, if you can do Collector all bind-ins, Watcher Knights is probably not going to be a trouble for you. Oh. Why paying attention is very important. Because you don't want to waste soul having to heal. I think Sly... no, it's Hornet Sentinel. Because they switch it up to where they make Hornet 2 the boss before the bench instead of Sly. But I know that Wing Nosk is showing... yeah, I think it's Umu and then Wing Nosk. Oh, jeez, and I wasted that one. So yeah, always be ready so that you can get... And as well, if you're able to hit it with a Dream Nail, you can always hit these guys to get some extra soul before the fight ends. So once in that phase, get ready to jump. And then you can get 3 hits. Ow. And if you Shade Soul as it ends, then you're able to double hit. I think it dashes every time they do, after they do the spit. Alright, get it out of there until Silk Song. I was gonna say, when he does his little thing like that, where he does the jump, you can actually hit him with a Shade Soul. However, watch out because it doesn't always really stagger him. And don't stay at the wall, because you want to be able to have as much time to react. Especially if you don't know he's going to do either his spin or Great Slash. Yeah, don't really need to heal. I suppose it is a bit more poetic to hit him with his own nail arts. Oh, jeez. But whatever. One big thing is you can keep Dream Kneeling him like a failed False Knight and failed champion. Alright, so I'm hoping that Hornet can at least parry spells in Silk Song. I'll be disappointed if she can't parry spells. Alright, so this is where things start to get actually pretty challenging. Mostly because you got a lot of those 2 damage bosses coming up. Oh jeez. Close one. And even if you beat him as he shrieks, you're still going to get the laser, so don't get complacent and forget about them. Because the last thing you want to do is beat Enraged Guardian, and then find out you just took 2 more damage. So yeah, Abyss Shriek, I mean, not Abyss Shriek. Shade Soul works great on Lost King. But if you Descend in Dark where he ends his attack, that still works pretty well. I mean, Shade Soul works pretty nice. This is going to get pretty chaotic once you get towards the end. Oh, okay, maybe not that chaotic. I think it's a little more chaotic on Radiant, where her health is a lot higher. Yeah, the iframes from Descend in Dark wouldn't have lasted that long. They're pretty generous, but not that generous. And poor Cloth, her legend lives on. Oh, jeez. Yeah, never be too close, because he's really good at diving right on you. I think I got one more after White Defender, or maybe it's that it's after the bench is after White Defender. You can tell it's been a while since I've done Pantheon 5, since I don't remember the orders. Okay, yeah, you get the bench. And this one's usually the wall, for where things get really challenging. Especially all binds, because you got Markoth and Reprint Zote. So pretty much same thing. Shade Soul works great there. You can do a double attack. Of course, I'd point out I'm not the best person to talk about how to beat this really well, because I still don't do it anywhere near as fast as you can do it. Alright. Oh, jeez. There we go. So yeah, after Soul Tyrant, I think it's Markoth. Yeah, it's Markoth. So depending on how Markoth goes, you can actually pogo him like once or twice. Oh, yeah. Doesn't quite work like that. So nail arts work really good on Markoth. But it really depends on where his positioning is. You have enough time to do one as he starts it, and then as he ends it. And that's all you have to do, just dodge and do nail arts. You have to make sure that his position is good to do that nail art. And then phase 2, it's just wait for him to do a shield spin. Works like a charm. And that's if you have, like, Shaman Stone. If you have Spell Twister as well to do it multiple times, you're gonna have a pretty easy time just blasting him down. Otherwise, you just do the same thing. Just dash slash. and you'll do a lot better. I prefer Abyss Shriek for the ads, even though they're not really perfect. But yeah, anytime he jumps through the ground, doing the Descending Dark is probably your best bet. Time it as he's about to come down, you'll be safe, and then you can just hit him a few times. Other than that, it's keep up on the ads. You can get a quick Abyss Shriek off on... Oh, jeez. So yeah, don't do that. Yeah, I have Nightmare King Grim after this, so... Let's try to not be... Oh, goodness. Alright, so... I have enough time to get a bit of soul and recover. Because you don't want to go into Nightmare King Grim on, like, minor health. So usually we'll do his dash uppercut to start. Usually. It's like maybe 80% of the time that he starts with it. Your best thing is to jump. And then pogo. Of course, I still don't always do it right. And although you can do, like, Troopmaster Grim and Abyss Shriek, there's, of course, the double damage makes it a lot more of a risk. And you could always do a dash slash there. It's whatever you feel more comfortable with. Ow. Yeah, I had the timing wrong. He does a certain number of them, and if you actually count, you can get that timing a lot better. I think it's 13. Ah, not quite. Of course, once he does his fourth Flame Pillar, you're free to Abyss Shriek. If you try to do it too before that, you're going to get hit by his Flame Pillars. But Nightmare King Grim is just knowing the patterns and then reacting accordingly. And at this point, finale time. Pure Vessel and then Absolute Radiance. And again, mesmerized by that magnificent cloak. If he didn't destroy it, he'd be invincible. Make Pure Vessel caped again. And while I do like to pogo more, you can dash through a lot of Pure Vessel's stuff. I just like to save my dash so that I'm always ready if he decides to do, like, javelins or parry. Because the timing for parrying, if you don't have your shade dash, is extremely hard to get out of. Oh, crap. Always watch out for those tentacles because it's so easy to mix them up with something else. Ah. Oh, goodness. So the good thing, though, is you get healed to full when you beat Pure Vessel before Absolute Radiance. So it doesn't really matter if you take damage, as long as you survive. And just admire this magnificent view as the sun reveals it's been a mimic all along. So your first time, you're probably going to get destroyed by Absolute Radiance unless you're very, very used to Radiance being faster. But as long as you make it here so you can open up her statue, then you're golden. So the thing is, every other one, if you have your Shade Cloak, then you're fine. That was a bit risky. Ha! That was dumb. And of course, if you spam Abyss Shriek here, you can just skip this entire phase. But you can heal up to 6 health here, so if you're needing to heal, this is a great time to just dodge your attacks and then just build up soul. So you can just constantly do Abyss Shrieks from there. And if you want to play defensively, this is one of the better ways to do it. Just stay in these 4 areas. And the thing about her lasers is she never targets the same place of the one that she just shot out. So if you move to where the second laser was, you're going to be safe. Now, when she's down on the bottom, you need to make sure that you're very careful because her spikes can spawn on top of you. So what you want to do is make sure that you do Ascend in Dark to be safe. So on the Ascent, it gets more accurate as she goes up. So one time, I'm kind of used to the thing where I just kind of jump away from where I want to go, so that she targets where I'm going to not be. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I don't usually pogo. I prefer, because, like, if you do it to where you wait for it to shoot and then dash, they'll almost always hit the platform. But if you do the pogoing, like that one, that's not going to be safe on. But you can just have it to where, if you have it to where you're pogoing and the orb shoots above you, you're going to be, it'll just disappear. To where pogoing's probably a better strategy if you got used to it. The way I do it is more super cautious, because if you are doing like Radiant and you mess up the pogo and you fall into the abyss, it's not going to end well. So I think that's why I got into my more cautious way. Plus, if you do it that way, you can just Abyss Shriek when you go over to the next platform, if Radiance is near you. And now we can just enjoy the ending, embrace the void. And then Hori leaves for her home planet, gets captured, and Silksong happens. And so that is the end of this commentated run. It's been a good bit of fun. I do apologize that it took so long to get through the game, as it did. I think I started, what, like late April, and now we're in mid-late June? Hopefully, if I do something like this again, whether with Hollow Knight or another game with commentary, I don't take too long to do this. But sadly, a lot of it comes down to, I record this generally very late at night. My cat tends to be very aggressively wanting attention, and so specific times are needed to be able to actually record this without too much trouble from either my cat or traffic. So it's a good bit of fun, but I'll have to see how it works for future future recordings. But still, with Hollow Knight, it's a good bit of fun as there's a variety of different ways that you can play. Like, you could do a variety of different charms that work for being able to do things. Whether you mostly are going to either do nail or spell builds. If I wanted to, the way that I did it with Strength, Mark of Pride, Shaman Stone, and Spell Twister is more like a hybrid of the two, so where you can just spam a lot of spells, but you're not doing full spell build like with Soul Eater. As if you do like Shaman Stone, Spell Twister, Soul Eater, and Soul Catcher, you're pretty much good. Every hit is another spell. But you have so many different problems with that build, and it's going to suck on a variety of bosses like Failed Champion or Collector. Of course, if you switch out Catcher for like Dream Wielder, then you're going to be pretty well off. The Quick Slash is really good if you want to do a nail build. That would be a lot faster if I did that with Quick Slash. I'm just much more used to using Mark of Pride. It's a crutch that I rely on. We have... Alright, congratulations. A winner is you. I think that's probably a little over an hour. Hour 15, hour 20. So, well, nonetheless, thank you very much for watching for this run. Thank you all for the commentary, the feedback, the advice, things that I missed and that you pointed out that I didn't know or had forgotten. Nonetheless, whatever comes next, stay safe, stay healthy. You have a wonderful day.